Everyone. Welcome to this class that is all about how to reduce pain and inflammation through nutrition. And Kahiki and I are going to be sharing a lot of information tonight and really diving deep into how do we get inflammation in our body, and what exactly is that? The word inflammation can kind of sound like, all right, it's a word I hear a lot, but what does that actually mean in my body? And a lot of times, the way that it shows up is pain. It can also show up as rashes, as headaches. We're going to talk about a lot of those things tonight. So I'm really excited for us to dig in. And I've got a bunch of things I'm going to be showing you here. One is this beautiful turmeric latte that I have in front of me, but I'll be doing that at the break. So Kahiki, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Okay, so first I'm going to start with the question just to kind of see where everybody is. So have you, if you're willing to go there, and if not, it's okay, say pass, but I'll be honest about my own health journey. Have you experienced inflammation of any kind? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, that means you're human. Okay, and then my follow-up question is, have you been experiencing it longer than 3 months? What I'll say to that is it's actually more common than not now for yes to be the answer to both of those questions. I've done this talk several times at health expos, and I'll ask the whole audience, and I will get 80% of the hands go up. That's about what we're looking at, sometimes more, but that's the average on what I see. So unfortunately, the food industry, but also our lifestyle now is inflammatory, and we want to turn it on its head and get back to living in our most natural, in sync way. And that's really what this is. It's almost like a returning back to you and rebalancing and getting back to your center. Okay, so I want to go right into it. So as you know, may or may not know, I am a certified integrative nutritionist, meaning I don't just love nutrition. I like to use nutrition as medicine, because truly that's how powerful nutrition is and can be when done right. The opposite can be said too. If we're not providing ourselves what it actually needs, it can be inflammatory. That's what we're going to talk about as well. So what I'm saying is I've seen a lot of inflammation in my day. And that's everything from gut imbalances to all the way to cancer. Those are all inflammation. And the pro in that is I've been able to notice common denominators in those scenarios. And I've been able to see a lot of healing. It's been a blessing to me to have a front row seat to it. But that's what I'm going to share with you, are the common denominators of those healing journeys. That's the powerful stuff that we need to be applying, right? So I'm going to start with an analogy, because I'm a sucker for analogies and visuals. Okay. First, so if I give you a sick fish, and your sick fish is obviously in a dirty tank of water, we have a few options in how we can heal and restore health to this fish. Number one, we can medicate the fish. Okay. Second option is we clean the environment or its tank, the water. Third option is a combination of both. Maybe we both medicate the fish and clean its water or its tank. It depends on the scenario, right? But I will say this, often improving the fish's environment alone can heal the fish, because that addresses root cause. So my message to you is, if we are to heal, we cannot stay in the same environment that made us sick, regardless of whether or not you may need medication, because if the symptoms are loud enough, you may need some medication. But if we want to stay in a place of healing and of health and balance, we need to clean the tank regardless of our approach. That's the takeaway I want you to get from this. We are meant to thrive, not just survive. I see a lot of those that are just surviving when we're meant for so much more. So here are some of the influences that can cause an imbalance, okay? One would be environmental. So think of the fish as dirty water, okay? Air pollution, unfiltered water, those are some common, like well-known, right? But then inflammatory acidic foods, the common American foods, the American diet. We'll go into that in a minute. Unmanaged chronic stress. What I tell my clients often is if it hurts your mental health, it also hurts your physical health. Your mind and body are not separate, and we can't keep viewing them as such. The goal is to align both. Insufficient sleep. A lot of repair happens during our sleep, and yet that's the first thing we'll often sacrifice. Lack of sun, fresh air, and earth exposure. Those are often overlooked because the new way of living now is it actually keeps us from doing some of these very basic things when we actually, our biology needs to reconnect with the earth, the sun, air. And then lack of movement, again, common lifestyle. A lot of us are sitting at a desk. Our bodies were not designed to sit for 8+ hours in that position. We need and crave movement. Unhealthy relationships. Again, if it affects your mental health, it certainly affects your physical health. And then unhealed, suppressed emotions and even trauma. I know many people don't like to go there, but it's all part of your holistic health. Our natural state is health. I need you to remember this because if we're going to get sciencey about the word behind this, we learned this probably in high school. The word homeostasis should ring a bell. That is your body's natural state of health. Homeostasis means your body's always trying to get you back to your set point, your natural set point, which is health. Okay, so if you remember that your body is trying to keep you there always. And if there's a symptom, it's been off balance for a moment. Which brings me to my next slide. Your body's language is in symptoms. It's not punishing you. And I know when the symptoms are really loud and uncomfortable, it can even make us angry at our own body. But please remember that it's just, your body is just trying to communicate to you. That's what symptoms are. That's the only way, the only language your body knows how to speak. And if we don't listen, it gets louder. Those symptoms get louder and more uncomfortable. And it can be, Andrea touched on some of them. It can be as minor as common, often getting headaches, gut issues or imbalances, skin flare-ups is another way it's manifested, hormone imbalances, or dis-ease, right? It's your body asking for help. And the way I want you to view symptoms is it's an invitation back to you and back to your healing. So if you support your body, it can go back to supporting you, so it doesn't have to be so busy putting out fires. It's important that we look at root cause. That is the tank. That's the water that we are in. Okay? And this is how you figure out the root cause. First, I want you to remember there is purpose in pain. Like I said, there's a reason behind it. So these are the things you need to ask yourself to uproot that. So clean your tank, right? When did I start to notice this imbalance? When I sit down with clients, and most of my clients have diseases or some serious imbalances, and I will ask them this question. And if they're being honest with themselves, they will say, you know what? I noticed this started a couple years ago, and I just kind of brushed it off. Because unfortunately, in this environment, a lot of us think that feeling this way is common or normal, because the common and normal foods are inflammatory. So the symptoms that come with it are almost accepted by the norm as common. But I assure you that if it's anything but health and thriving, That is not your natural set point. That is not your homeostasis. So there is purpose in pain. When did you start to notice the imbalance? How was your body speaking to you? What was the symptom? What were you eating at that time? What was your tank like or your environment, right? Who are the people even that were in your environment? It contributes. How were you eating? What were your stressors? All important factors, right? So again, I stress there is purpose in pain. It's not there to punish you. It's there to get your attention to restore health and balance. Now, if you've followed me or done any of these long enough with me and Andrea, you know that I'm going to talk about your gut and gut health at some point. It is that important. It is the root of your health, no matter the condition. That said, no matter what a client comes to see me for, I always address and support their gut because I know the integrity of their gut can either decrease or increase inflammation. One, it influences how well you do or do not absorb the nutrients I'm going to recommend you eat. It's also where most of your immune system is. Did you know that? Almost 80% of your immune system lines your gut. So guess what? If your gut is compromised, so is your immune system. I always have to start with the gut for that reason. That's why it gets its own slide. And it will always be in our classes and our webinars. So the 95, and I will even add mental health to this, 95 of your feel-good hormone serotonin is actually produced in your gut. That's your happiness and your mood stabilizing hormone. It's that important. So here's what you need to do. When you have a food that you may be in question to you, meaning if you eat it and you don't feel great, that can be a headache, that can be indigestion of any sort, bloat, what have you. Start to pay attention to what those foods are that make you feel that way. And I would go as far as even logging it. If a food is in question, remove it from your diet for 28 days. Then reintroduce it and see how your body responds. You almost allow your body to reset after the 28 days, and your body will let you know if that is an offender to you or not. That's how I discovered my dairy sensitivity. And then I went further with the testing and found out I was lactose intolerant. I lost weight, but there was constant bloat and discomfort. And I thought, what is this? Something is still not sitting well with me. And I noticed the common denominator on those days was dairy. And sure enough, when I reintroduced it after 28 days, I felt horrible. And that's when I knew to test it further. That's what I'm telling you to do with any reactive foods to you. Those are not longevity foods. Okay. The longevity foods are the foods that do the opposite for you. When you feel really good, high energy, great gut health, even good skin health, all the things. What foods did you eat that day? That is important to pay attention to. I call those your longevity foods. Those are foods your biology thrives on. And that is so important for us to know at this point in our lives. We can't keep guessing. We need to know exactly what it is that our body needs and wants and thrives on. Because again, we are meant to thrive, not just survive. Okay. Now, here are common inflammatory foods. It's funny and it's not that the standard American diet is actually abbreviated SAD. If you think, but there's so much truth to it. Because the standard American diet, if you look at it right there, there it is. It is an acidic, inflammatory diet. It is actually the furthest thing from nature. The more we veer off course from natural foods and nature, the further we get in trouble and more inflammation we bring into our body. It's as easy as that. Okay, so even if you did nothing else but just focused on eating more whole natural foods in its natural form, you would decrease and maybe even heal significantly. I see it all the time. I'm really just telling you to get back to nature. It's the diet that I'm going to show you is just eating whole, healthy foods. It's uncomplicating everything. It's when men in labs created fake foods or took some of these foods and natural foods and altered them. That's when we get in trouble because our biology doesn't recognize it. And guess what our body does when it doesn't recognize something? It releases inflammatory cytokines. That's inflammation. It's a foreign food or object to your body. It's not even a food to your body. And it doesn't know how to use that information. Food is information. Okay. So this is everything you see on here is what confuses your body and feeds inflammation. I want you to see these things as throwing fuel on the inflammatory fire. That's exactly what these things do. Now, sugar in fruit form is different than this processed sugar that you're seeing on this list. Because in fruit, sugar is combined. First of all, it's a different form of sugar, number one. Number two, it's with fiber. So when you have the combination of natural sugar with fiber, you're not going to spike your blood sugar. Very, very different. You can see how our biology recognizes what to do with that versus man-made, simplified, refined, processed sugars. And then go ahead and test this. I would rather you not, these things I'm telling you do cause inflammation. But if you really want to find out, eat more of these things and your body will scream at you. So, and if you look at, and I'm not saying for saturated fats, we have red meats on the list there. I'm not saying never eat beef. I'm saying be mindful of how much red meat you eat. And if you're going to, which I do once in a while, by the way, please do grass-fed, organic. There are a few, I don't want you to go out and break the bank and get organic everything, but there are some exceptions for me in my book where I will always reach for organic. Meat is number one. Protein is number one where I reach for organic. Okay. And the second is if I'm eating the skin of the fruit or vegetable, if it's feasible for you, then that is ideal. But meat is number one for me on eating organic because it can actually add inflammation because in non-organic meat, you're also getting additional hormones and antibiotics. We don't need that. We have enough working against us. We don't need to add to the inflammatory fire. We're trying to do the opposite, right? So on a cellular level, here's the visual I want you to remember. This changes it for my clients that still feel like they have an addiction to these foods. This visual, keep this in mind. On a cellular level, these foods, these inflammatory foods, actually thicken your blood and causes our cells to stick together, and it makes it hard for oxygen to get to our tissues and organs. Hence the reason inflammation starts to climb. That's one of the reasons. So that creates an inflammatory, also known as an acidic environment, which is a disease-prone environment in the body. And that makes us more susceptible, you can see, to disease when that's going on. Common disease that I'm talking about is cancer. Cancer cells deprive your body of oxygen. The opposite, and I think you're getting where I'm going with this, the opposite of an acidic environment is an alkaline environment where there's lots of oxygen making it through to your organs and all your cells. That's what you want. But if we keep eating these inflammatory foods, our blood is getting too thick for oxygen to sufficiently make it throughout our body, our cells, and our organs. So you can imagine any of my clients with cancer, they're eating the exact opposite of this, which I'm going to show you as well. But right now is a good time to turn it over to Andrea because she's going to start to show you some of the things that I've been talking about.
Okay, I've got quite a few things here in front of me that I'm going to show you. But first, I want to say a little bit from my personal perspective when it comes to inflammation, all of these things that Kahiki was talking about, and especially that last slide about all those different foods. And you might look at those and go, well, I have a hamburger every once in a while and I feel fine, or I have sausage every once in a while, or I have sugar every once in a while and I feel fine, or I don't notice any difference. And a lot of times it's not that we ate that food and all of a sudden we feel something flare up, but we might have this general, always a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of dis-ease, a little bit of achiness that we don't know what it's like not to feel that anymore. Anyone here have some kind of joints, some aches, some spots in their body? I mean, I'll tell you right now that, you know, I've got a few. I've got a little bit of arthritis starting in this finger. I have achiness and tightness in my ankles. And where this very topic like comes to life for me is when I notice that when I clean things up, when I'm walking down the stairs, my ankles aren't as tight. I'm not gripping the handle or the banister anymore. I'm not, I mean, I've had my ankles get so bad where I've got to go down one step at a time. But then I look at those foods on that last slide and go, okay, well, how is my sugar consumption? How is my alcohol consumption? How am I doing with, how often are these things coming into my life? And as soon as I clean them all up, I'm walking down the stairs with almost no problem. Or this finger, this little joint here doesn't ache at the end of the day. So that's where you can really personalize this topic to you. Where in your body does inflammation show up? Another instance might be a skin rash. I don't know if you can tell right here, but I've got a little pimple that showed up this morning. That's inflammation. For me personally, it's the dairy that I had all last week. I didn't just have it once, I had it multiple days. And then here's where it shows up for me. So it wants to come out, and that's where it's coming out. So for you, it might be something else, but as we're going through this topic, you can personalize this to you and go, where is it that I'm holding extra inflammation, whether it's in your belly, whether it's in a joint, whether it's in headaches, whether it's in a skin rash. You'll know for you where you're holding that kind of inflammation. And then that's the thing that you can pay attention to when you're looking at these foods and looking at your diet, because that's specifically what we're talking about mostly about food and nutrition when it comes to inflammation. And then I also want to specify that there's a difference between, we have these wonderful superfoods that are out there and they're all marketed as anti-inflammatory. And I'm going to show you one right now, which is turmeric. So there are two ways you can go about this. One is adding in these really amazing superfoods. But if you don't address the cleaning of the tank, which was Kahiki's very first point, no turmeric, no matter how many turmeric pills or supplements or foods you put it in, is going to make a dent in how you feel if you're not also taking out those things that are inflaming your body. So there's these kind of two balancing ways. One is to remove the things that your body's reacting to and bring in more of the good. So I just want to make sure that I hit that point. So I'm going to show you this beautiful golden milk or turmeric latte. So this is one that I've just made, but I'm going to show you how to make it. Turmeric, now if anyone hasn't seen this before, this looks just like ginger at the grocery store, but is bright orange inside. And it's just this little knobby thing. Looks just like, like this is ginger, so they're pretty close. And it's usually right next to each other in the grocery store. You also can get turmeric like this. My preference whenever you use turmeric is get this if you can find it. This is the whole food still intact. It means that it still has water and oil and the full nutrition left in it. So the way I would use this is grating it into some soup. Right here, I'm going to show you this latte. or also called golden milk, but you can use a thin little grater like this. This is a zester, and put a little bit into a soup or a stew, and you're going to get those really wonderful anti-inflammatory compounds out of that. Okay, so this recipe, it's 2 cups of milk, and I'm going to show you the version with using whole spices versus the ground version. So 2 cups of milk. So 1 cup, I'm making this all non-dairy, by the way. So that was a cup of almond milk. This is a cup of coconut milk. And you're just putting it into a little pot. And then a cinnamon stick, really nice cinnamon stick. Again, you're getting like the whole spice right there, goes right in. And then I'm going to grate the turmeric in, because I really want to get as much of the liquid and the wonderfulness out of it. So it's about a 2-inch piece of turmeric. I'm not even going to peel it. I'm just going to grate it right in, because when this is done simmering, I'm going to put it through a strainer. So I have this little small strainer just like this, and it'll catch all those spices. So I'm just going to grate that in, and you can see it's this beautiful bright orange color. Now I can smell it. I mean, I'm just going to put that last little end piece in there so you can see that. And then same thing with ginger. I've sliced a couple pieces of ginger. So it's a 1.5-inch piece of ginger sliced. You could do the same thing with that too. You could always grate them. I don't love a ton of ginger, so I'm just going to keep it sliced so it's not as intense. And that's going to go right in there. And then a couple turns of pepper. The active ingredients in peppercorns helps make the turmeric, those compounds in it, the curcumin, more bioavailable to your body. So you'll notice there are certain things in our cooking that always go together. Turmeric is usually served along with black pepper, which helps makes those compounds more available. And then vanilla. So whenever I can, I love using a real piece of vanilla. This is a fresh vanilla bean. I'm going to cut about half of it and slice it open so that I can scoop out the seeds. But because I'm just going to let this simmer, I'm going to scoop the seeds out, but then I'm just going to go ahead and put this whole thing in. I'm just going to scoop the seeds so I make sure that it actually comes off of the pod. But then this is going to be really, really lovely to just dump in there also. And then sweetener. So you can do honey or maple syrup. I have a little bit of maple syrup here. I'm just going to put about a tablespoon in there. That can be totally to your preference. And then this lovely batch just simmers on low heat for about 15 minutes. So this would be 2 servings, so about 1 cup per person. Now, even better would be to let this thing sit overnight with all of those spices in there. You could make this ×4 if you want to give yourself a cup each day. This is a really nice replacement for coffee or tea. You're getting this really nice coconut fat, the fat from the coconut milk, plus you're getting all of the turmeric. This is this would be lovely with, if you're a tea drinker, a little bit of black tea put in there as well would be wonderful. So that just sits again on the stove on low. You're going to simmer that for about 15 minutes, but then let it just sit. Let those spices sit in there. And then you can taste it and you can adjust it from there. If you like ginger, grate some more ginger in there. Just, you can start with the amounts that I gave you. In fact, sometimes I like even just throwing in a little more cinnamon powder if I really want to like bump that up. And then you get this lovely tea. It's very calming. And if you like something sweet at night, like this could be a little bit of a nightcap for you. I think that this would be really lovely to kind of signal the end of the day kind of like that cup of warm milk. Okay, so that is golden milk, and preferably use all the fresh spices. If for some reason you can't find this little turmeric, then what I would use is a half a teaspoon of ground. You don't need as much. You'd only use about a half a teaspoon, but then give it a taste. Like, again, start with what you have here, give it a taste, see what you think of it, and then add a little more. So it'd be half a teaspoon of the ground, about a quarter teaspoon of ground cinnamon, same thing, 2 turns with black pepper. And then you can control, I only did about 1 tablespoon of the sweetener. You can control the sweetener from there. Okay. So that is the turmeric milk. I wish you could be here to smell this. All I smell is cinnamon and milk. Like I don't even smell the turmeric. The vanilla really helps with that too. It helps kind of calm that down a little bit.
There's so much about that is anti-inflammatory. You have the healthy fats in the coconut milk. Cinnamon is very anti-inflammatory in and of itself. Turmeric, namely curcumin in the turmeric, is the active ingredient in it. And then you activate it with the pepper, right? That alone is anti-inflammatory. And then you have ginger. So each of them, I need to highlight this, each of those that I just mentioned are anti-inflammatory medicine by themselves. Think about the powerhouse of anti-inflammatory medicine that you're getting by combining those. I will add that, and that drink that she just showed you is a warm version of it called golden milk as well. I love that during cold seasons, fall and winter. In the summer, you can actually make a smoothie out of it, which I do as well. So I just want to mention that to you. If you're still not quite ready for something warm, there's golden milk smoothies as well. You can use the same ingredients. It's that powerful. And that's perfect going into what I was going to mention, which is food is our most powerful medicine. They keep trying to make capsules or medicine that is as powerful as just whole natural foods by themselves. Nothing compares. And think about it this way. It is administered at least 3 times a day. Every time you eat. Every time you put a whole food in your mouth and in your body, you are putting medicine in your body. I hope I'm able to help you shift your perspective on food. It's no longer just about taste. It actually never was. It goes so far beyond just our taste buds. That's just part 1 of digestion, is in your mouth. Most of it happens the rest of it happens in your body. That's what really counts. Even more important than taste. So now that Andrea showed you that, that's a perfect thing to go into now is your anti-inflammatory foods. Again, all of these are medicine to your body. And dang it, they taste good too. If your palate doesn't think these taste good, it's time to reset your palate. Give it 2 weeks. This is what I tell my clients that are not used to eating this way. Give it 2 weeks and you will notice that if you're faithful for those 2 weeks, your palate will reset to what it should be, to its you could say homeostasis. You start to crave the things your body actually needs. You're breaking sugar addictions and you're starting to crave what it actually needs. Now, instead of craving what your body, your gut or your brain is addicted to, because addictions happen in both places, by the way. Instead of craving those, once those are out of the way, now your body will crave the nutrients that it needs. Give it at least 2 weeks. Hang in there for 2 weeks and you'll notice the shift happen. And when Andrea and I we have a reset program that we do about quarterly. That's what we have clients in that group. Detox is essentially what it is, of whole foods. It's more than 2 weeks because we want to get them to that point. And they all say the same thing, that they are craving more of the foods on that plan. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this. This is your medicine. And these are foods that actually love your body back. These are healing, alkaline foods, not acidic and inflammatory, the exact opposite. right? So these are what put out the inflammatory fire. If you're feeling inflammation, prioritize these foods. And it's not a matter of feeling deprived from the other foods. It's really focusing, you're just shifting the focus and the energy onto these very nutrient dense, and I want you to see it as nourishment, right? So nourishing foods. And the foods that don't love you back, there's just not room for them anymore. You're too busy focusing on the foods that do love you back. That's what this is. It is not about deprivation, ever. It is about serving your body and honoring it in the way that it deserves, honoring you in the way that you deserve. Okay, so when you eat, the one that I want to highlight on here is chlorophyll, which is in anytime you see green, like leafy greens, I want you to think chlorophyll. That is actually really, so you remember me saying acidic foods make your blood thick and it makes it hard for oxygen to get through into your cells and into your organs. Chlorophyll actually does the exact opposite. Now I'm wishing that I had a visual of both for you under the microscope and you could see what I'm talking about. Chlorophyll actually separates your red blood cells so they're not clumping together. So what that means is more oxygen and nutrients can get around to more of your body. Chlorophyll is powerful, and you can actually supplement that one as well. As I tell everybody, I would rather you get your nutrients from the foods that you eat. But if you are inflamed and you are off balance, that's a great time to add in supplements like chlorophyll. Okay. Top anti-inflammatory diets. You may or may not know this, but Mediterranean is number one. I love the Mediterranean diet. If you come to me with a heart condition as well, you better believe you're going on a type of Mediterranean diet, plus whatever your deficiencies are, etc. Okay. The second is plant-based, but I'm always cautious about mentioning that one because you don't want to bite off plant-based if you don't know really what you're doing, meaning you can actually be deficient in iron, vitamin B12. So you got to be careful when you go plant-based. My cancer fighting clients, they go on a form of plant-based, but I'm monitoring them and they're getting the nutrients and the supplements that they need. I would not say just jump into that without knowing. Okay. But those are your top alkaline diets out there. And I don't even like to use the word diet. Because too many people associate that word with deprivation. That's not what I'm talking about here. Okay. So these are foods that love you back. Chlorophyll, some of those foods are things like wheatgrass, spinach, kale, romaine lettuce, arugula. And if you're going to supplement something for chlorophyll, I really like Garden of Life's alkalizer and detoxifier green powder. Side note to those of you that are inflamed and could use that extra support right now. Cruciferous veggies are veggies in the cabbage family. So that's things like broccoli, cabbage, kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, arugula. Those are very rich in detoxifying and anti-inflammatory phytonutrients, minerals, vitamins, etc. Collard greens, you can never go wrong with those. Now, if you notice, side note here, if you're thinking those are all very gassy foods, you are not wrong. But I don't want you to be scared of those foods for that reason. So if you're not used to eating those foods, it can cause some bloat. I will say that. You can build up a tolerance to it. Until then, you can take digestive enzymes before eating those types of foods to prevent bloat. There's my tip to you, because I don't want you to just not do it. A lot of my clients are scared of those foods especially clients with some type of gut imbalance. They're scared to even, and there are some times where I'm like, okay, we got to really baby step it if your gut's that reactive. But I don't want you to just never eat some of these most nutrient dense foods. There's ways to ease your way into it. Okay. And then you do, again, build up a tolerance to it. So I hope everybody got that picture. I'm moving on to the next slide. Actually, this is a good time for Andrea to show us part 2. Are you ready for that, Andrea?
So another area of food that comes up that really promotes inflammation is alcohol. And especially if you are entering into perimenopause and menopause, we do not process alcohol the way we used to. And I went on a very long search for how do I make something that feels special, that tastes good, that feels satisfying, to replace that glass of wine, to replace, the cocktail. And so I'm going to show you what my formula is here, so that this can be something that if you want to cut down drinking, or if you just want to have something really fun and treat yourself, especially if other people are drinking. And so it comes down to a few pieces. So what I have in front of me, I'm going to make a blue lemonade, this beautiful, beautiful blue lemonade. And whenever I make a mocktail, I have a few components. I'm going to start with a fruit juice. So here I've already mixed some lemonade with a little bit of honey and water. This could be cranberry juice. This could be pomegranate juice, but I always start with a real juice. And then something a little bit fizzy. There's a lot of these really fun sodas that are on the market. This one is a sparkling water, which doesn't have any sweetener, but it has a lot of really nice flavor. This one is a blackberry lemonade. Olipop has a little cassava root in it. It has and a little stevia. So this one doesn't actually have any sugar. And then the Culture Pop, this one is an orange mango. Any of these would go great with my lemonade. This one is only sweetened with fruit juice. So there's quite a few of these on the market now. There's Poppy. Olipop is one I see a lot of places. Even if it's one that has real sugar and not high fructose corn syrup, that is even a good step in the process of lowering the amount of sugar you're having. So I don't know if these are things that any of you already are enjoying or trying. Every once in a while, I'll pick up something new just to see what I think. But I think it's a really nice component with a mocktail for flavor and a little kind of a fun little bubbly. And then I really enjoy these adaptogens. She was just talking about chlorophyll. I mean, you could even put a green powder into this if you wanted. There's a company called Apothecary, and they do these herbal drops. This one's called Take the Edge Off. This one is called Wind Down. And they're a mix of herbs that are all meant for relaxation, winding down. It's why we crave alcohol at the end of the day. And so I have found using some of these little adaptogenic tinctures to be really nice. This is another one. This is a powder. This has got things like ginseng, ashwagandha, chlorella, the blue butterfly pea flower, which is why it's got a pretty bluish purple color. So you can find things like this if that's something you want to add to it. And then I have, I'm going to use the spirulina. So some sort of other like adaptogen or, superfood. So I'm going to use spirulina and then a garnish. So those are my main components to making a really fun, spirited drink. So I'm going to add this is just under 1 cup of lemonade. And I'm only going to put about 1/4 teaspoon of the spirulina in. And then I'm going to use my little coffee milk frother to mix that up for me. I'm just going to put a tiny bit more in. This takes the place of there's a liqueur at the bars that makes a really pretty blue drink. And I think this is just such a nicer way to do it. So I'm going to put my lemonade in here and see how pretty that is. And then I would do a couple drops of one of the tinctures. And then if you're going to mix anything together, make sure if you're going to put in a little bit of a soda, do this last. because it's going to fizz up pretty good. That's going to give it a really nice little fizz. And then always, always top it off with a little garnish. Like put something fun in there, something to celebrate. Isn't that pretty? Like this makes me feel like I'm special. I've done something really nice for myself. It's going to be a little bit sweet, a little bit refreshing. Whatever it is that I'm craving that alcohol I think might do for me, this can do just as well. Of course, I'm not going to get the buzz from it. But if alcohol is something that you would like to lessen, this is a really great way to do it. So that's, you know, my version of a blue Hawaiian or a blue lemonade. Okay.
I'm going to give you, that is, again, perfect going into what I was about to share with you. So now if you come to me with an inflammatory condition, especially cancer, I'm also going to have you juicing these foods. You're not just going to eat them, you're also going to juice them. And the reason being is because it is in your system within 15 to 20 minutes of consumption when you juice it. Because you're able to bypass a lot of digestion and just absorb it. When you are that inflammatory, you need medicine immediately. And that's when I have clients get out juicers. One of my favorite healing stories is my own mother's. She healed naturally from cancer. And one of her most powerful forms of medicine was juicing these alkaline foods that I showed you. And when I say juicing, we didn't play. We're talking about 10 juices a day. 8 to 10, they're about 8 to 10 ounce juices a day. Mostly greens, one fruit. And I have to clarify that because if you're just juicing fruit, you're just getting a sugar drink. Because when you juice, you're removing the fiber. Unlike a smoothie keeps in the whole fruit, right? Juicing, you're literally just extracting the juice from it. So that can end up being just a sugar juice if you're just doing fruit. So one fruit, really for taste, and then mostly greens, the alkaline greens. And think about, you're getting a straight shot of chlorophyll, ladies, and you're going to be feeling like $1,000,000. The energy, by the way, as well. Anytime I feel potentially a cold or something coming on, I will bust out my juicer. That's my go-to flu shot. And I will juice things just like Andrea showed you earlier, like the ginger. I will throw in the turmeric, lemon, carrots, apple, all those vitamin C, anti-inflammatory, very healing foods. So, and there are supplements, by the way, that can support you right now if you're inflamed. Probiotics is number 1 in my book because, again, your gut is the root of your health for all the reasons I previously mentioned. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are your healthy fats like fish oil, that's going to douse the inflammation fire. Vitamin D is one that I find many clients deficient in. But vitamin D, you have to remember, actually behaves as a hormone. So if you want to absorb your vitamin D, you actually need to pair it with your omega-3s or your healthy fats. I combine those two when I take them together for that reason. There's a tip there. You've seen this in Andrea's demos as well. Turmeric, again, that's really, I'm talking about the curcumin in the turmeric. Vitamin C, very anti-inflammatory. CoQ10, magnesium, and then that's the alkalizer and detoxifier green powder I mentioned earlier. So I want you not just to manage your pain, I'm talking about healing. We're not just putting a Band-Aid on anymore. And you heal on a cellular level with nutrition. That is where medicine can never touch. It will help with symptoms, yes, and sometimes it's needed. But if you want to actually restore balance and heal on a cellular level, that's your nutrition, your most powerful medicine. So I'm going to end here. These are anti-inflammatory therapies. If you're really inflamed, I will have my cancer patients or autoimmune patients that are in chronic pain, meaning high inflammation, they will be doing a lot of these therapies. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, means high doses of oxygen. You heard me speak about how powerful oxygen is and why we need that. Very anti-inflammatory. Or you can drink it. That's called ozone water, alkaline water as well. Red light therapy is healing for the cells as well if you're inflamed. And then lymphatic drainage massage, vitamin C. Now, if you are very inflamed and if you have cancer, that is one worth looking deeper into as well. Same with, I have to stress again, HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Those are two big ones right there. Please take a picture of the list of these books because your education doesn't just stop here. Go further with this, please, for the sake of your longevity and your health. Okay, those are some powerful books right there. Clean your tank, ladies. And that is more than just nutrition. That's managing your stress. That's regular movement, doing what brings you peace, prioritizing that daily, testing and removing your reactive foods for 28 days, getting fresh air and sun. Don't forget to address the basics. Add in more of your longevity, high energy, healing foods that love you back. Prioritize your sleep 7 to 10, I wish. 7 to 9 hours a night. Make it a priority. That's where a lot of your healing happens. And then listening to your body, it speaks in symptoms.
All right. Are there any questions?
What was the green garnish you put in your blue beverage?
Oh, yeah, that is just some rosemary.
That's what it looked like, but I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, that's some rosemary. People think that like, oh, rosemary sounds funny in a drink. I mean, a lot of times I'll see a drink that's got basil in it. There's something about herbs it's really, it's an unexpected, but like it livens up your nose, because now you're smelling and you're tasting. It just opens up your senses. So yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh, lavender would be really amazing in here.
Oh, yeah. Those are things I actually diffuse often in my office. Rosemary is good for cognitive reasons too. Side note there.
A bit of coconut oil in there as well to help that absorption.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you for coming, Lynn.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, everyone. Yeah, well, all right. Well, then have a good night, all of you. And hopefully there's something here that you can take into your life and give a try. Okay, all right.
Bye, Faye. You're welcome. Bye, Lynn.